This is the vocabulary breakdown for Chapter 2. In this chapter, we learned about first declension nouns and adjectives. So, just like we had a bunch of verbs in Chapter 1, this time we have a bunch of nouns and some adjectives. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a bit of review before we get to the actual definitions here. I'm going to take our first word on the list, fama, famae, feminine. And I just want to make sure everybody remembers how the dictionary entries work for nouns in Latin. So the first word in the dictionary entry for nouns are always going to be nominative, give you the nominative singular form. The second word in the dictionary entry is always going to give you your genitive singular form. And then the third part of the dictionary entry is always going to give you your gender. Also remember that you always look for your base in the genitive singular form, the second part of your dictionary entry. Cut off the genitive singular ending, ae, and that gives you your base of femme. So that's how the dictionary entry for nouns works. Now let's go ahead and look at some of these words. So fama, famae, feminine, means rumor, report, or fame and reputation. And the base root of this word is fa, fa, which means speak. So the general idea is if there's a lot of speaking going on, there's a rumor or there's some sort of report being carried around. And if there's a lot of rumors about someone, then they have a reputation or even they might have fame. So that's how you get those 4 different words for fama. Here's an interesting derivative here. We talked about last time how the suffix ous means full of. So someone who is famous is someone who is full of rumor and fame and reputation. And at the end of our presentation, I'm going to show you a little passage from Virgil's Aeneid where he does a personified depiction of fama traveling throughout the countryside. It's a really gorgeous, gorgeous portrait that we'll look at the end of this presentation. Our next word is forma, formae, feminine. It means form or shape, but if something has a lot of nice shape to it, it means beauty. Next is fortuna, fortunae, feminine. It can mean fortune or luck. And just like in English, they often personified it. So fortune favors the brave, for example, in English. They would often also put fortuna as a personified being. Ira, irae, feminine, means ire or anger. You can see how ire is a derivative of ira. Nauta, nautae, masculine. This is one of those special masculine first declension nouns. Not a lot of them, so pay attention to those. And it means sailor, like nautical. Patria, patriae, feminine, means fatherland, native land, one's country. A really big, important word in Latin, so make sure you get that one down. We get words like patriotic and expatriate from it. Pecunia, pecuniae, feminine, means money. This one is fun, philosophia, philosophiae, feminine. It's a direct borrow from a Greek word, philosophia, and its base meaning is phil, which root means love, and sophia, which means wisdom. And so philosophia literally means the love for wisdom or the love of wisdom. It also means philosophy in Latin, but always kind of interesting to look at what the root words mean. Poena, poenae, feminine, is penalty or punishment, like the penal code, or penalizing someone. And it has a idiom. So we saw an idiom in the last chapter with please being I will love you, so amabo te. Here we have poinos dare. So dare means to give. Poinos means penalties. So to give penalties for the Romans meant to pay the penalty. So if I have a sentence that has do poinos, then this would be I pay the penalty. And that's how that works. The next one here is poeta, poetae, masculine. It means poet. It's another one of those masculine first declension nouns, so watch out for that. Porta, portae, feminine, meaning gate or entrance, like a portal. Puella, puellae, feminine, meaning girl. And this one's kind of interesting. There is a word in Latin, puer, which you haven't learned yet, that means boy. And if you look at puella, it has this LLA thing going on there. That's a diminutive. So literally what a girl is a teeny tiny boy. So the diminutive here means small or little. And then you've got the pu base right there. And so puella is a small boy literally, but definitely translated as girl. Rosa, rosai is feminine, it means rose. And the last one here is sententia, sententiae, feminine. Its base meaning is feeling, but it can also mean thought. And if you have feelings and thoughts, you have an opinion about something. And if you have an opinion about something, you can vote about something. So it can be a vote. And it could also mean a sentence. So watch out for all of those different meanings of sententia. Vita, vitae, feminine, is the next one. It means life, for example, like the words vitals or vitality. But it also has the sense mode of life. So I recommend that you translate mostly everything life, but be aware that mode of life is a possibility. Now we're done with our nouns and we're going into the adjectives. As you can see, our adjectives, they go all the way down to this point. They also have 3 parts to their dictionary entry. And some of this isn't going to make sense until we get to the next 2 chapters where we learn second declension. But just be aware that the first part of the dictionary entry shows you your second declension, masculine nominative singular form. The second word gives you your first declension, feminine nominative singular form. And the third part of the dictionary entry shows you your second declension, neuter form of the adjective form. So masculine, feminine, neuter, first, second, third. That's the basic way that adjectives, at least for right now, are going to be divided for the dictionary entry. So just be aware of that. For right now, since we only know first declension feminine, that's what I'll focus on. So antiqua means ancient or old time, lots of derivatives. Magna, large, great, so it can be like a large rose, but it can also be a great or important man. Once again, also a lot of derivatives for this. Mea means my. Multa means much or many. And just be aware it's much when it's in the singular and it's many when it's in the plural. So I have much joy as opposed to I have many donkeys or something like that. And then the last one, tua, means your. And this is for one person. So this is the singular your form. Now going to our conjunctions right here, we have et, which means and, or even. And when you have et, dot, 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 et, then it means both and. So if you had et, I'll just use x for right now, and et y, then it would be both x and y. So I have both fortune and money, for example. Sed is a conjunction that means but. Then we have oh, the interjection that often precedes the vocative. So, oh, Caesar, you are magnanimous, or something like that. Sine is our preposition that comes with the ablative. So it's always going to be a sine with something in the ablative, and it means without. And then lastly, and I put a little circle on this one, est, is. You'll be learning a lot more about this verb later on, but for right now, just translate it as the verb is, just as you would translate laudat as he, she, it praises. So this is essentially he, she, it is. So it's in the third singular, present, active, indicative form of to be. So is. Okay, so that is the vocabulary for Chapter 2. At this point in the presentation, you are not required to listen in. The rest of this is completely optional. You won't be missing anything. Well, actually, you'll be missing a ton. This is Virgil's Aeneid. It's amazing. But in terms of Latin 506, you've learned what you need to learn for this part. Okay, so let's look at this passage. First of all, this comes from what is called a lobe. So on the left side, we have Latin, and on the right side, we have the translation in English. So you can see both sides. This text is called the Aeneid. It's a Latin epic that was written by an author named Virgil. And Virgil is one of the most important Latin authors we have. The Aeneid is a foundational text in Roman literature, and not only in Roman literature, but in Western civilization. A very important text, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. When I took Virgil, the Aeneid, as an undergraduate, it's one of the things that made me become a classicist. I loved it so much and wanted to keep studying classics because of this text. So this story, the Aeneid, is, I'm not going to go into the entire details, nor am I going to discuss what Book 4 is about, even though it's a very tragic, beautiful story about the Carthaginian princess Dido and her failed love affair with Aeneas. But the Aeneid basically tells the story of the Trojan Aeneas, who leaves the city of Troy after the Greeks have taken over and destroyed the city, and goes wandering all over the place, ends up in Italy, settles there, and eventually he is the forebearer of those who found Rome. So this is basically an etiology for the foundation of Rome, or at least the settling of Italy by Romans. This comes from Book 4, and this is a passage that personifies Fama. So I thought we'd look at this since we have Fama in our vocabulary for this week. And it personifies Fama as this goddess who travels about the countryside. It's a gorgeous passage that I thought we would look at. And here's Fama right here as well. So it says, "At once rumor runs through Libya's great cities. Rumor, the swiftest of all evils. Speed lends her strength, and she wins vigor as she goes. Small at first through fear, soon she mounts up to heaven and walks the ground with head hidden in the clouds." This is just such a gorgeous image of rumor, how rumors can spread very, very quickly and grow and get faster and faster to the point that she's walking with her head in the clouds because she's so big and monstrous. Mother Earth, provoked to anger against the gods, brought her forth last, they say, as sister to Coeus and Enceladus, swift of foot and fleet of wing, a monster awful. You can see that right here, monstrum horrendum, this horrendous monster, and huge, who, for the many feathers in her body, has as many watchful eyes beneath. So she has these feathers everywhere that allows her to fly all over the place, and all of these eyes underneath her, these watchful eyes, wondrous to tell, these wonderful eyes, as many tongues, as many sounding mouths, as many pricked up ears. So she's this horrible monster looking thing that's huge with these eyes all over her body and feathers and mouths and tongues and ears. Just a gorgeous image right there. By night, midway between heavens and earth, she flies through the gloom, screeching, and droops not her eyes in sweet sleep. So rumor never sleeps, it just keeps running and running. By day she sits on guard on high rooftop or lofty turrets, and affrights great cities, clinging to the false and wrong, yet heralding truth. So sometimes it's true, sometimes it's false, what rumor spreads. Now exulting in manifold gossip, she fills the nations, and saying alike of fact and falsehood. And then from there on, it gets back into the story. But this passage is just gorgeous about how rumor works and how it just grows and has all these eyes and tongues and ears to hear all of the rumors being spread about this monstrous, awful monster. So I thought that would be fun to share with you, a little piece of Latin literature that you guys will be able to read in fourth semester if you keep taking Latin.